Oh, that was funny.
I mean, there's some like up programs.
So the real Marla does a great job.
That is definitely true.
He has a choir. I'm gonna remove this. Because otherwise someone's bound to trip over it. Someone could be me. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
These days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur give us a chance to kind of catch our breath, to prepare ourselves for a day in which we'll stand before God for hours, asking forgiveness, forgiving, and being able to reset and restart this new year. And so we take this moment with this meditative service to be able to turn inward and to refocus. And so we're going to turn to lighting our candles on page 120. And I'd love to invite up Frankie to lead us in that, and for everyone who's able to do so to please rise. Yep. There's a prayer right there waiting for you. Thank you.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And we'll turn to page 123 as we say our blessing over the Sabbath wine.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hakafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, ve'atzavanu, ve'shabbat kodsho, be'ava u'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron le'maseh ve'reshit, ki hu yom techila, למקראי קודש, זכר לציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים.
On page 138, we turn to Lecha Dodi as we prepare to welcome in the Sabbath bride. You may be seated for the time being, until, of course, we reach that final verse of Lecha Dodi, where we'll rise and face the entranceway, welcoming in the joy of Shabbat.
Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת בלי תהילה. Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה זו מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לי וקלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לי וקלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לי וקלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת מעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקלה פני שבת נקבלה. Shabbat shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat shalom. And since we are all up, let us greet one another with Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
And once you've greeted everyone, then you can return to your seats. So our rabbis teach, and we find it so often, especially in the community of the Hasidim, that this prayer that has no words, this nigun, this melody that guides us, that takes us into another dimension if we allow it to, is just as important as the words that it might be attached to. In fact, sometimes even more important, because we might not even know what the words are. But the melody we can allow to infuse us, we can allow it to guide us, and we can allow our kavanah, our intention, to fill it. And so we have the psalm for the Shabbat, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, the song for the day of Shabbat. And it's filled with beautiful prose and poetry, as are many of the Psalms, of course. But we focus for a moment in the chant just on those first words, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir, Shir LeYom HaShabbat. And we focus on it either with the words or just with the melody. But we fill it with our Shabbat, we fill it with the kavanah, the intention that we want to bring to this Shabbat Shuvah. We fill it with the joy of Shabbat, the seriousness for a moment of these days of awe as well. And we feel how that blends together to transport us and transform us so that we prepare for our service that is ahead of us. So I invite you to start with just the melody and to fill that melody with your kavanah, with your intention, with what it is that Shabbat is to you. You know, when we were in school, they would say, "This is what Shabbat means to me." And we'd have to write a paragraph. For me, I'd rather just sing a melody because that's what Shabbat means to me. Filled with all of the meaning. And so I invite you to fill the melody with your meaning. Ya la 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 ya la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 ya la 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 la, ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya 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 la 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 la, mizmor mizmor shir. שיר ליום השבת, מזמור מזמור שיר. שיר ליום השבת, מזמור מזמור שיר. שיר ליום השבת, מזמור מזמור שיר. שיר ליום השבת. The whole world is singing, singing of Shabbat, מזמור מזמור שיר. שיר ליום השבת, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה לה לה, יא לה 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 לה, לה לה לה. And with the same power of this nigun, the same power that a nigun has for us, we allow it to move us sometimes. And as we prepare for our call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, which you find on page, lost it, page 146, as we prepare for this Baruch Hu, we begin with a nigun again. And some people think that the nigun is just there to introduce, that it's just there to give us a moment to stand up. But I want for us to use the nigun as a guide. And when it moves us to stand, then I want to invite you to stand. And if we have to sing the nigun a couple of times, because you haven't quite been moved yet, that's okay. We'll do it. But if you fill that nigun with this call and this response that we are ready, that we are awake, we are ready to pray, we are ready to listen, and we ask God to do the same thing. And you allow that to guide you to stand, suddenly just the act of standing becomes different. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, Ya 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 la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. And take a moment before we do anything else. Take a moment to sense the difference between our standing meditation and our seated meditation. How does it feel different to you to now be standing upright? Maybe it's the same. Or do you feel the rootedness of your feet a little bit more? Do you feel the energy of the earth infusing your body and perhaps projecting out of the top of your head, creating that plane upon which we are connected with the Holy One of Being, creating that direct connection of energy from the earth's core through our bodies and into the heavens? Or does it feel the same? For many, meditation is a hard thing to grasp. But our meditation consultant and educator, Pam Tarlow, once said, "The only bad meditation is the one you didn't try." And so we try to connect. We try to feel and sense the difference and be present in that difference. We recognize the difference outside as the sun comes up and goes down. So too shouldn't we be aware of the difference inside when we go up and sit down. We're in awe of a sunset or a sunrise. But perhaps we've lost the awe of standing. We've lost that same awe that we feel when we see a baby stand for the first time. When we become connected to it again, we recognize that just like we are taught that God placed the planets and the stars in their courses in the sky according to God's will, just as God makes the sun rise and the sun set, and we are in awe of that, so too have we been moved to stand. And then at some point we will be moved to return to our seated position. We feel that oneness, that connectivity between the earth and the heavens. We feel that awe of that plane that we are on, that connect us to the one and only God and connect us also to the oneness of God. And as we prepare to declare that oneness with the words of Shema, these words on pages 152 and 153, but you know them. But if you need the words, they're there. But these words that connect us and remind us of God's oneness and our oneness with the divine. We will chant each word on each one of our breaths. And we'll change words only when we breathe. Not when our neighbor breathes, not when I breathe or the rabbi breathes. But I want this to truly be your pronouncement tonight. Your pronouncement, your individual pronouncement of Shema. And fill it with the kavanah. Fill it with the awe and the wonder of that oneness that you feel.
We can sit as we move to our next part of the prayer. And although we are in these days of the Yamim Noraim, at the beginning of the year, we have a reminder all year round of another sacred holiday, the sacred holiday of Passover, with the Micha Mocha prayer. Every single day we offer the Micha Mocha prayer in our liturgy as a way to thank God for allowing us to escape from the narrowness of the land of Egypt, to go to our freedom in the future. And yet, we can understand the kind of awe that the Israelites must have faced after they finally, after all those years of dreaming and wishing, left the land of Egypt. But what about us each and every day? What does it mean for us to say on our good days and on our bad days, who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai, who makes wonders? What does it do for us when we suffer a loss, when we have something that's not going right in our lives and we say to God, thank you for what's good? It teaches us a smidgen of gratitude for the good that we have. And so let us hold that peace with us as we turn on page 158 for Micha Mocha.
Ya la lai lai la la lai ya la lai 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 ya la lai lai la la lai ya la lai 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 ya la lai la la lai la 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 lai 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 ya lai 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 Micha Mocha bailim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot oseh pele Malchutcha ra'u vanecha Bokeh yam livnei Moshe Malchutcha ra'u vanecha כהים לפני משה ומרים. יאללה לילה 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 יאללה לילה 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 יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה לילה זה לי אנו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם לעולם ועד. יאללה לילה 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 יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה ונאמר גבעת אדוני את יעקב וגאלום יד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני. יאללה לילה 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 יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה יאללה לילה לילה יאללה לילה גאל ישראל. In a moment, we will invite you again to rise as we prepare to enter into God's presence in these words of the Tefillah. It's become our tradition on this Shabbat, on Shabbat Shuvah, to dim the lights a little bit, to open the ark, and to spend this moment and this time before the Torah scrolls as we listen to some of the nusach of the High Holy Days as part of the chanting of the Tefillah, and as we offer our own prayers at the same time, allowing us to both receive and to offer at the same time. You'll find the Tefillah beginning on page 164. And I've always found it particularly poignant and powerful to think of the words of Reb Nachman of Bratslav that are shared on the bottom of page 165 as I enter into my own Tefillah. And so I share them with you at this time. Every word of one's prayer should be like a rose that is picked from a bush. One gathers rose upon rose until a bouquet is formed and can be offered to God as a beautiful, beautiful blessing. I invite you at this time to please stand for the Tefillah. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 svatai tiftach. Na 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 ufi yagid. ופי יגיד תהילתך. אנא נא 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 אדוני. אנא נא 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 שפתי תפתח. אנא נא 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 ופי יגיד. ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וחותמנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים ומנתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל הגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אב הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך הקדוש. אתה קידשת את יום השביעי לחנך. ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחולו המלכים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי. אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות, אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו רצה במנוחתנו, קודשנו במצוותיך ותן חלקנו בתורתך. סבנו מטובך ושמחנו בישועתך, ותאר ליבנו לעבדך באמת, והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה ורצון שבת קודשך. וינוחו בישראל מקדשי שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. רצה אדוני אלוהינו שפוך רוחך עלינו ותעזרנו עלינו בשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני המחסיר שכינתו לציון, מודים אנחנו לך שאתה עלינו. ובן בגין שנו דמנו, נודה לך זאת בזייתך. הטוב כי לא חרר רחמך ומרחם, כי לא תמה חסדיך, מעולם קיווינו לך, ועל כולם יתברך ויתנן שמך, מלכנו תמיד לעולם ועד, וכתוב לחיים טובים, כל בני בריתך, וכל החיים יודוך סלע, ויעללו שמך באמת. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך לך, נאה להודות. שלום רב על ישראל, עמך תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים, ברכה ושלום, ופרנסה טובה. ניזכר וניכתב לפניך. אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים טובים ולשלום, ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני, עושה השלום. אלוהי נצור לשני מדרס הזה. יהיו לרצון עם רפי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. We take another moment in the silence to offer the prayers of our hearts. יהיו לרצון, יהיו לרצון עם רפי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, vegoli. Amen.
You may be seated. At this point in our service, we offer a prayer of healing for people in our world who are in need of healing of mind, healing of body, or healing of spirit. And as I go around the room, I invite you to say aloud the name of anyone for whom you'd like to offer the Mishaberach prayer. You can rise or raise your hand, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Yes. Kathy.
Rachel Organic, Baron Family, Andrea Smith. Anita Weiss, Joshua Michael, Susan Felber, Esther Walker, Kylie Sherman, Zerika Sorkin,
Highly insured.
Vivian Smith, and Sasha Smith. Rose, Samantha Lowe. Mary Tyson and Mark Smith.
Robin Gregson, Tamar Davidson, Pat Wade, Ramel Cinco.
For all these people whose names we say out loud and those whose names we keep silently in our hearts, let us offer this Misha Barak prayer.
Misha Barak, Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, hu yevarech v'yirapeh et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Misheberach, Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, ve'imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, ve'Leah. Bless and heal us all. Hu yevarech v'yirapeh et hacholim. In the words of Moshe Rabbeinu we sing, El na refana, El na refana, God please heal them. El na refana, El na refana. Bishaberach, Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, ve'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, ve'Leah, hu yevarech v'yirapeh et hacholim. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofe hacholim. Blessed are you, God, whose healing presence is with all of those in need. Amen.
Amen. So we turn to this week's Torah portion, Vayelech. And the portion just seems perfect for this time of year. It's like the rabbis planned that or something. But we're reaching the very end of the book of Deuteronomy. And as we reach the end of the book of Deuteronomy, of course, we're reaching as well the end of Moses' life. And so in this week's portion, which is the shortest portion of the entire Torah, very, very short, Moses is preparing to write his final poem, his final words to the people. Moses, at this point in the Torah, he's been thinking about it for some time, but it certainly is clear and acute that he's thinking about the legacy that he wishes to leave behind. How does he want to be remembered? How does he want people to think of him? And what of the work that he's done in his lifetime does he want to make sure outlives him for many, many years to come? These are incredibly appropriate questions for this season. In just a few days, we're going to be entering The holiday of Yom Kippur, where essentially we rehearse our own deaths. The entire day we don't drink, we don't eat, we don't pay attention to really what our body needs. Instead, it's just us and God, taken out from our everyday routine. And the rabbis say that in essence, we're rehearsing our own death so that we can better understand what it means to fully live. And so we ask ourselves on this day of Yom Kippur, we ask ourselves, what is the legacy that we wish to leave behind? How do we want to be remembered? In the case of Moses, there were a few things that perhaps Moses wanted to be remembered for. The Torah says that Moses wrote down this teaching that is given to the priest, the son of Levi, who carried the ark of the Lord's covenant, and to all the elders of Israel, so that the Torah will be passed down. This Torah is in some way Moses' legacy that's being passed on, or at least the passing down of Torah is. The Torah itself is from God. But some of the words that appear in this portion, and Moses instructed them as follows. Every 7th year, the year set for remission at the holiday of Sukkot, when all Israel comes to appear before the eternal your God in the place that God will choose, you shall read this teaching aloud in the presence of all Israel. Gather the people, men, women, children, and the strangers in your communities, that they may hear and so learn to revere the eternal your God and to observe faithfully every word of his teaching. Moses wants to make sure that this is a text that doesn't live far away in a closet that's never opened. This is a text that we wrestle with regularly, because that's what it is to be a Jew. But there's one more piece here that I want to bring in, which is a piece that actually relates to the year that we're in. So the year that we entered, of course, is pop quiz. 5780, exactly. And you might know that there's numbers that are attached to every single Hebrew letter that we have. So in 5780, the letters that would be written down would be Taf, Shin, Pei, with the emphasis on the Pei, because the Pei stands for the year 80, right? And the Pei is a really powerful word in its own right, because Pei, which means 80, means, does anyone know what Pei means? It means our mouths. And so this idea of the Torah that Moses has given us, given to us so that we use our mouths to read it. We use our mouths to study it and to discuss it, right? But there's even more than that. This Pei teaches us of the importance of being vigilant with our words, being careful with the words that we speak. It reminds us that some words can cause distance and rift. Some words can bring us away from Torah. Some words can disconnect us from one another. And some words can bring us closer. Some words can open our horizons and lift us higher to greater places that we want to be. When Moses began his journey, if you remember, Moses was afraid to speak because he said, essentially, that he couldn't do that perhaps he had a stutter or something else. The rabbis have all sorts of explanations, but that he was afraid to use his words. He was afraid to harness his words, to allow his voice to come out. If he had stopped, if God hadn't pushed him, he wouldn't have had the legacy that he had. But rather, thanks to people around him, thanks to asking for help, Moses, along with Aaron, were able to go to Pharaoh. Pharaoh, incidentally, also starts with a Pei. And he goes to Pharaoh and is able to tell him, let my people go. Now, there's another little piece of this whole Pharaoh thing, which is that Pharaoh had decided to quash the Jews to begin with, because, he said, lest they multiply. Now, the word lest actually starts with a pay as well. It's pen, right? And the Talmud teaches that God changed that pay into a kaf. Lest the people multiply turned into surely the Israelites will multiply. Why? Because Pharaoh was trying to narrow the scope of who Jews could be and what their legacy could be, and God was trying to expand it. It just shows this power of the pay, the power of the words in which we use. There's a teaching that when one is 80 years old, they reach a special strength. And this connects again back to Moses, because according to the rabbis, Moses was 80 years old, pay, when he led the Israelites out of Egypt and when he transmitted Torah at Sinai. All of this comes back together. What it means is that Moses, despite his great fear of using his pay, his mouth, for good, he turned that into his greatest asset. And so can we. In this world where words are sometimes used as weapons, all too often are used as weapons, we in this room have the capacity to turn all of our mouths, our pay, into something to bring grace and love and to expand our horizons in this next year of 5780. So I want us to think about that and the legacies that we have, and hope that that fuels us as we step further into this season.
So before we begin to conclude, there's really nothing to add.
Except, of course, for some words from Marla.
Except, of course, for some words from Marla.
Because who
From
else would we
Marla's
turn
pay.
to?
Because Marla's pay always has wisdom and also always tells us where we should be. Because Marla is an expert on that, because she has experienced everything that Temple Bethel has to offer in her years here. And she just wants you to have those same great experiences.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And in truth, you will hear from my pay because there's no script tonight. So it's all me. I'm honored to represent the Board of Directors this evening. And I am grateful to Rabbi Cassie and Cantor Lon for letting me be a participant in the pews tonight instead of being up here. It's pretty important, and I appreciate your thoughtfulness. There are so many things in our handout that I'm not going to review because I have a belief that you can do it yourself. And clearly, the list of services coming up as we celebrate these days of awe are in here. And I hope that you'll make the time in your lives to be with community, to do what we need to do. I guess during this Shabbat Shuvah, this opportunity to begin this process of renewal and redemption is pretty intense, exhilarating, a tad bit scary in terms of what we might find out about ourselves, but also uplifting because the pride that we have, I believe, in being Jews, but in particular being Jews at Temple Bethel. So I trust that you will be able to be with your families and bring your families and just do some things for yourself. I wanted to underscore one Shabbat service on October 18th. That's a musical Shabbat Sukkot service. And we've been told that we're going to experience that outside on the patio. So it's appropriate that we dress properly, which means nothing in Southern California. But they tell us to do it because, I don't know, It's going to be a first for you, Rabbi Cassie, but you'll see it's all pretty much the same. It's an opportunity for us to understand even better what it is to practice our faith in the sukkah, but to also experience with knowledge the notion of being homeless and experiencing homelessness and what we can do about it. There's some requests here to volunteer to help build the sukkah on Sunday the 13th. There's an opportunity to have coffee with Rabbi Cassie under the sukkah on the 16th, and lots of other good things. The last thing I'd like to share with you is to remind you the opportunity to give of yourself, to think of others, to practice being Jewish, and filling those pantries out there. I think we're connected. Did we do Toberman this year? I forget where the food's going.
I think some of the food goes to Sova, and
Sova.
some of the food, I believe, goes to Harbor Interfaith Service.
Harbor Interfaith. So if you haven't done so already, or if you'd like to do it some more, I found myself enjoying going to Costco and buying things that I don't normally buy for myself, but I realized how much those homeless folks would appreciate those things of mac and cheese and all that stuff. And it's really an opportunity to practice our faith during these days of awe and thinking about others. So I would encourage you to do that. And I thank you both on behalf of our community for letting us experience this particular Shabbat service. And as you said, Kendra, sometimes it can be a challenge, for some of us who are motor mouths and busy and whatever. But you gave us an opportunity, both of you, to experience this and to help us as we proceed through these days of awe. And I think we're all, if I look at all of you, I think we're all grateful to you both. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Marla.
We are going to turn to page 586 as we go to our concluding prayers with Aleinu, and I invite everyone to please rise if you're able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשה גויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
On page 594, you may be seated.
It is a fearful thing to love, what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream to be, and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life was lived in me, once lifted me, for your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy.
This Shabbat, we remember Jenny Altman, Hildegard Bierman, Robert Ben Cole, Ben Coyle, Betty Bernard, Jeremiah Blatt, Pearl Gladys Blatt-Letts, Rosini Carpio, Helen Citron, Frank Cohen, Rita Colbert, Selma Urso, Dorothy Feldman, Harry Feldstein, Paul Fridman, Martha Frucher, Marcia Gold, Ari Gore, Audrey Greenberg, Donald Hall, Louis Hirschman, Charles Kahn, Stuart Kostick, Erwin Krugman, Ruth Lacko, Ruth Land, William Land, Benjamin Lipman, Toby Litton, Anina Lewis, Audrey Minsner, Adele Morse-Platt, Sidney Pollack, Louis Rose, Amelie Rosenthal, Paul Rubin, Fanny Sampson, Hilda Shafran, Ray Shapiro, Mel Shulkin, Seymour Smith, Beatrice Sobel, Ethel Ann Spielberg, Emery Stanza, Isaac Tyke, Bessie Weinstein, Jacob Ziskraut, and George S. Zugsmith. For all of these people who we remember, for all others whose names have not been mentioned, but who we hold in our hearts, for everyone who doesn't have anyone to say Kaddish for them, let us rise at this time and offer the Kaddish on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirotei ve'amlich malchotei, v'chayechon u'yom echon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'galau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivrach le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yinaseh, V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata b'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba mishmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be a blessing.
'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love. To love, to love. What death has touched. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimramav, uya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oh, say שלום שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shalom. Killing me with that song. All right.
I was thinking there was some kind of symbolism. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Please join us in the house room for Oneg Shabbat. I forgot to mention that.